Hello everyduck, my name is Adrian A, and today we're going to be going over LeetCode 1768 titled Merge Strings Alternately. This is the first of the LeetCode 75, which is a list of problems for people preparing for programming interviews that covers a wide range of data structures and algorithms. This particular question is going to focus on string manipulation, and we will be programming in Java, but solutions that we provide, as well as the problem solving techniques to approach these questions, can be used for any language. Now, this video will be split into two different parts. The first part is going to be brute forcing the question, where we just try to understand the gist of the question and throw whatever we can at it to get a proper solution. But the second part, we're going to optimize it using Java. And in particular, we're going to learn some new techniques that somebody first starting out with the language may not have encountered, particularly string builder and this conditional operator that you may have seen, a question mark. But we'll get to that later in the video. Please leave a comment, like, and don't forget to subscribe. Let's jump right into the problem. So last thing before we start coding, we are going to cover the problem. So here we have two strings, word1 and word2. We see these as the arguments given to the merge alternately function. And then we need to merge the strings by adding letters in alternating order, starting with word1. So if we see here in example 1, we have word1 being ABC and word2 being PQR. So starting with the first letter of word1, which is A, we then bounce to word2 and we get P, and so on and so forth. And we get the output AP, BQ, CR. Now, there is the special case of if a string is longer than another string, append the additional letters onto the end of the merged string. So in the case of where word 2 is longer than word 1, example 2, PQRS, and word 1, AB, we do the same thing at first, A, P, B, Q, but then we have these two leftover letters in word 2, so we just add them to the end. And the same goes for if word 1 is longer than word 2. A, B, P, or sorry, A, P, B, Q, and then we just add the last two letters in word 1, C and D. And then we return the merge string as seen as well by the returned type string in our function. So right off the bat for our brute force method, I'm going to create a string, an empty one, titled result. I don't want to manipulate words 1 and 2 because it'll just be easier to use that way. So we need to alternate through them, but we also need to remember the special case of a string being longer than another. So let's right off the bat solve the case where word 1 is shorter than word 2. So if word 1.length is shorter than word 2.length, what do? Well, we know that we're going to have to iterate through a string. So we can write the first part of our for loop. And we know we're going to start with word 1. And we know that word 1 is shorter. So we're not going to do more letters than the length of word 1 in our for loop, because we can use a pretty cool trick to add the remaining letters of word 2 that are left over because it's longer. And this leaves us with a for loop that'll go the entire length of word 1. And so I will be updating, and this will allow us to update our result string. So result equals, and then this will have whatever is already in result being added to the new character that we're adding. So right off the bat, we know that we are starting with word 1. So we're going to do word1 dot char at I. So we're going to get the character at whatever index we're at from word 1, and we're going to add it to the result. And then right after that, we're going to do result equals result plus word2 dot char at. So we know that there will always be characters at the indexes we're on because word 2 is longer than word 1. And here, once we finish that for loop, we know that all that is left is the leftover characters on word 2. So what we can do is result equals result plus again, but instead of doing char at, we want to access multiple characters, or the possibility of multiple characters, after the indexes that we went through in the for loop. So we can use the substring method, which will return us a collection of characters starting from the index that we give it all the way till the end. And so with this substring method, we can do word1 dot length, because this is the index we never reached, because since we started counting at 0, we never actually went the full word1 length. If you have a 3-letter word, we never actually went to index 3 because we start counting at 0. So by doing this, we have our final result. Now, the other case is going to be if word 2 is the same length as word 1, or if word 2 is shorter than word 1. So before we keep going, we can just return the result real quick, because we're done with this case. And so we would be exiting this if statement and then doing some unnecessary checks. Afterwards then, we know we already took care of the case where word 1 is shorter than word 2. So we can just do in one fell swoop if word 2 is shorter than word 1. Because this substring, if we're accessing some index that we do not need, will just give us a empty string. And so this will make more sense as we write a bit more code, but this time for int I equals 0, we'll start with going till the end of word 2, I++, and we'll have the result equals the result plus, and then once again, we are doing the word 1 because we always start with the character from word 1 at that index. And then we're going to do character at word 2. And then the result equals the result plus word1 dot substring now. And all the logic remains the same for what we did above, and we can return this result. And we can submit. Now we have a working solution, but I believe that we can make it faster because we only beat 28% of Java users. So we will be trying this with the string builder method and a new kind of if statement. So let's get into it. So we're going to work with the string builder class, which is built into Java. So we're going to create a string builder object titled result. And when creating an object, we need to initialize it properly. Well, that would be if I properly capitalized everything. And so here we have our string builder, which is basically used for string manipulation with some special functions that we'll get into that are much quicker than if we just created a string and used concatenation that way. Now we're also going to need to have the shortest word length, and for that we're going to use a special little trick written out like this. It's basically a one-line comparison where we have our truth statement followed by a question mark, and then we have the value we would want it to store if it was true, colon the value we would want it to store if it was false. So when writing that out, we know that we are going to want the word1 dot length if less than word2 dot length. So that's our truth statement. And if it was true, then we want to store word1 dot length as our shortest value. If it was false, we wanted to store word2's length as the shortest value. And that allows us to write the for loop for int I equals 0. I is less than shortest word length, I++, which will go through the entire word. Also, we can put this in parentheses to keep it clean. In this for loop, we're going through the entire shortest word, so we can just do our adding, except we are not using a string, we're using string builder. So instead, we are going to do dot append, like a list in Python, where we add on the characters to the end of our string builder object. So result.append, and we're going to take word1 dot char at I, and then we're going to dot append word2 dot char at I. Perfect. Because we can do these back to back, just adding them to the end of the list, and we have our characters at our words. So this does the alternating trick for us, and then our last step is to add our final leftover characters. So as said before in the brute force method, if we do a substring and then we give it an index that it can't use, well, no worries, because we're going to get an empty string. So what that means is that I can just dot append both of these magical substrings where we would want the rest of each of these words. And by doing that, we get empty strings when words 1 or words 2 don't apply, and then we get the rest of the characters when it does apply. And then we can return the result, except we need to return a string, not a string builder. So we can just do toString to convert the string builder into the string that we want. So now we can submit, see really quickly if there's any typos. No, and we beat 100% of users in Java, going 0 milliseconds, using the string builder class to quickly manipulate strings, and then using this special truth statement that allows us to do this without any if statements. So with that, I hope you enjoyed this question and solution, and please leave a like, a comment of any suggestions or questions you'd like to see solved, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.